What's up, everyone? Something came up, so Girl You Know What podcast is taking the week off. We will be back next week with a brand new episode, so in the meantime, we are bringing you something special. This one is the return of my podcast, Dannie B Speaks, the podcast, which has been on a little hiatus, but we're back now. Keisha and I want to thank everyone for your ongoing support, and we will catch you all later. In the meantime, please sit back and enjoy this podcast. What's up, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Dannie B Speaks, the podcast. I, of course, am Dannie B, aka Tahir. So we're just not even going to mention the long hiatus the show has taken. We're just going to keep on moving right along like we've been here. That's what we're going to do. Now, this episode will basically just be a catch-up, and I have a couple of things to talk to you all about with y'all's cousins out here in the entertainment business. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, as my co-host on Girl You Know What Keisha always says, life be lifin'. And yes, it does. Sis has been working a lot. I work a regular 9 to 5, so there's that. Actually, a 6:30 to 3, so let you know that I get up very early. I do get off early, but I'll be worn out, so we're just going to keep it real right there. I got a promotion last summer, and it was taking up a lot of my time and energy. It does, so it's just like by the time I get off work, I am really tired, and I've been neglecting everything. And I also been putting the energy that I have left into the Girl You Know What podcast, which hopefully, if you follow me, you have been listening to that podcast. That's just an ongoing podcast that, just like I want to get back in the swing of things with this one, I'm trying to work out a schedule, but it is what it is. So, I can't be sorry for it because it is a part of my brand and I enjoy doing this so much. I really do. This podcast is my baby. I've been writing scripts for the show, but by the time I felt like actually recording them, the damn story was old. So I finally feel like I'm in a place where I could start putting more effort back into my work because, seriously, believe it or not, I do love doing this. It's such a nice outlet for me to escape from the BS of daily life, radio, journalism, all that stuff. It's just something that I always wanted to do. This is just, where I can just do my own thing and I have people that enjoy it. So I'm going to work it out. Just bear with me, y'all. Just bear with me. Yeah, so that's where we're at with this right now. I'm trying to work out a schedule and we'll just go from there. So real quick, a little health update. Now, many of you know I had bariatric surgery. It'll be 6 years in August. That is crazy. I'll be putting out a full update in the episode coming real soon, but let me just give a quick update. I am doing very well with my weight loss. Since surgery, I've lost a total of 164 pounds. It was a little lower, but, I'll get into that in a second, but I still have a little bit more to go till I get to my overall goal weight, but I am getting there. I did gain some weight during COVID. I'm not going to lie about that. I didn't gain too much. I actually did better than I thought that I would, but currently I am losing the COVID pounds that I did put on. It didn't help that I had throat surgery in May of 2021. The surgery, yes, it was very necessary and life-saving. However, I was on this liquid diet forever, it seemed like, even longer than my bariatric surgery. So once I was able to eat and we were basically still pretty much, things were opening up again, but we were still pretty much, on lockdown a little bit. And when I could eat, I ate. Baby, I was eating. It wasn't necessarily bad foods, but I was eating. You know what I mean? So thank goodness for self-control and a smaller stomach and being active because, if I wouldn't have been any of those things, the weight gain would have been a lot more. So we'll just leave that right there. But overall, everything is good. It's going real good. Mental health, it could be better, but I'm working that out too. Like I said, we will talk more about health at a later date. We'll get into all that later on, but I just wanted to give a quick health update because I have in the past talked about my weight loss. I know a lot of people, really get into that. Some people just listen to me for that, and that's perfectly fine. That's what my whole thing is. It's like, you may not like everything that I talk about. You may not be into everything I talk about. But if something grabs you like that, that's what I'm here for. So we'll do a whole health update episode coming real soon, I promise. So now let's get into some mess. Okay, dear Chaka Khan. Well, wait. First, before I give my 2 cents on Chaka and her shenanigans, how about Stephanie Mills was also out here spitting facts? And I know a lot of people didn't like it, but a lot of people don't like to hear the truth, especially when it may come to their favorite artists, because a lot of people think that they actually know these people. But anyway, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. And for those trying to shade Stephanie Mills, acting like mama isn't worthy to be speaking on anyone or anything regarding the business and talent and whatever, that woman is a legend. Her resume speaks for itself, and that's all. That's it. There we go. So anyway, now back to you, Auntie Chaka. So, ma'am, you meant every single word you said. So please don't come back apologizing now, backpedaling and everything. No, we're not doing that. The damage is done, okay? And see, the thing about it is, most of the girls you shaded, they won't speak out against you, and you know this because they actually respect you and you are their elder. You are someone who they look up to. They have remade your songs. They have wanted to share a stage with you. I mean, they've taken some of your work ethic and have tried to make it their own. So since they won't say nothing, that's where I come in. So let me go back a little bit. So if you don't know, Chaka Khan was on some podcast and was asked about Billboard's top 50 singers of all time. I think it was top 50. I might be mixing that up with the hip hop, but I do believe it was top 50 singers of all time. And she had a lot to say about pretty much every Black woman singer that was listed ahead of her. I'm not going to break down every one she talked about, but she had a lot to say about many of our faves, including Mariah Carey and Mary J. Blige. Those seem to be the two that she was really after. And look, you can have your feelings and opinions. That's perfectly fine. No one's saying that, especially coming from someone like Chaka Khan, who is a legend and an icon. And like I said, those artists look up to her. So there's that. But her responses were extremely petty and just downright mean. And you had to go back and look into it. I'm not going to get into everything that she said. You had to go listen to it. And I'm pretty sure you can just Google Chaka Khan, this is Mary J. Blige, or, something like that. Chaka Khan's recent comments, something. But she had a lot to say. And mama has a mouth like a sailor. I'm here for that. But anyway, yeah, like I said, they were extremely petty and just downright mean. I understand you feel in a certain type of way, but taking shots at many of these Black women singers who are legends in their own right. They're legends too. Legends, icons, mind you. It was just completely unnecessary. They didn't make the list. They didn't do it, they were the ones that put the list together. Even if you do think it was done, for payola or not, whatever, which I doubt it was. But you never know in the entertainment business, but I doubt this list was. Let's just keep it real. Child, most of your performances, especially from back in the day, you were high as a giraffe's ass. You've done a lot of things in your career that, had people side-eye you for a long time. So maybe that's one of the reasons why you really had a problem that you were behind a lot of these artists, whatever. So yet and still, it doesn't take away from your talent, from those songs, from those vocals, none of that. I love you down, but it was just wrong. You meant that shit. Don't stand, just stand in it. And you should, honestly, I know you're not going to, but you should really apologize individually to them because that was just wrong. They didn't deserve that. If you haven't already, you should, but you probably won't, and we still love you. So that's Chaka. That's just Chaka Khan. She's off the hook. Whatever. You were wrong, though, and you meant it. Floor now on to Chris Rock. So Chris Rock, that shit was whack as hell. I'm just going to keep it real. I know people are, here for you and everything right now because of what you've been through over the past year, having to, live that bitch slap down and everything like that. But no, okay, let me preface this. I am not a Chris Rock fan. I never really have been. I'm just going to keep it real. Yes, I've watched his movies. Of course, I grew up watching him on Saturday Night Live. I've seen his other comedy specials. Every now and then I would watch the Chris Rock show that used to come on. I believe it was on HBO, quite a few years ago when he had his talk show. So I don't dislike him, even though he has done and said some questionable things. But and I get his comedy. Trust me, I get his comedy and everything like that. I understand his comedic style. But Okay, but let me just say this, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I was completely done with him when he brought Stacey Dash's ass out at the Oscars that year that he hosted, trying to be funny in some skit, talking about she was head of some kind of minority, not community, damn, I can't think of the word, but some kind of voting thing, whatever. It was just making fun of basically her, being so pro-Republican and all this other stuff. And it was, okay, the skit completely missed the mark. I mean, let's say that. I mean, they just gave her crazy ass crickets just throughout the entire crowd. Some people said that you could hear a gasp when she came out and said what she said. And I totally believe that because it was so stupid. And of course, he's just off to the side cracking up. It was his idea. So I was done with that because that shit is not funny. Things that she's doing is dangerous, especially back then. So yeah, it wasn't funny. But anyway, last weekend, Chris Rock performed in the first ever live Netflix stand-up comedy special, which was called Selective Outrage. I didn't watch it live, but it's still on Netflix, of course. So I watched it a couple of days after it, aired live. And yes, don't get me wrong, some parts were funny. And as I mentioned, I do understand Chris's comedy style, but seriously, calling Will Smith a bitch 50 million times, okay, yeah. It was just weird. It was just like a lot of uncomfortable jokes that kind of fell flat. And if you've listened to the Girl You Know What podcast, another plug for the podcast, you know that I'm not fond of Will and Jada either. I think they're both completely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, actually. Especially Jada. And what Will Smith did to Chris Rock last year at the Oscars was the It was the trashiest shit that could happen, period. It was. And Will Smith, Lord have mercy, Chris Rock did not deserve that. And Will Smith deserves all the backlash that he got. Now, I will admit, when he did talk about the entanglement part, that was funny as hell. Because if that shit wasn't the truth, baby, now that was good. Now, just because my opinion is that it was whack, do I think that Chris Rock missed the assignment? Honestly, no, I don't. I believe he did exactly what he was supposed to do, and he was authentically himself. And I'm just not a big fan. There are a lot of people who I'm just not a big fan of, and it doesn't mean I don't like them, but I'm just not a big fan of his comedy and him, period, for things that he's done. But I did like some of it, but it was just like, I don't know. But a lot of people liked it, so there's that. And, that's really all I had to say about it. That's it. Lastly, now, this will be done on a separate podcast as well, but I have to mention Billboard and Vibe's tacky-ass collaboration on the top 50 MCs of all time. That was some of the most disrespectful bullshit I have ever seen in my life. Let's just keep it real. Clearly, everyone who put the list together, as well as those who approved the list, you all need to be fired. You know better than that. It was just like, really? So, as I said that I would when Keisha and I discussed it on the Girl You Know What podcast, I did my own damn list. It's done. And it wasn't easy. I'm not going to lie. This list was not easy. I do feel like some people are out of place. I do feel like that there should be some people on there, and I will do an honorable mention. And this is just my opinion, but I do think my list is better than theirs. Let's just keep it real. So anyway, yeah, but hell, I'm going to give you some real MCs. That's what I'm going to do. And I'll do that on the next episode of Dannie B Speaks, the podcast. I'll get into the list. I'll read off my top 50 and I'll break down some of them. I most likely won't go through all of them. That's going to be too long. And I'll discuss the honorable mentions. But yeah, I'm coming for you, Billboard and Vibe. I'm coming for y'all's jobs. And there's that. So yeah, that'll be next week, y'all. All right, so there's that. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Dannie B Speaks, the podcast. Be sure to check out my other solo podcast, which is True Crime with Dannie B Speaks, where, of course, I discuss one of my favorite things, which is true crime. I mentioned it a couple times, but I also have a third podcast, which is a collaboration with my good friend Keisha of Wellness and Women. The podcast is called Girl You Know What. We are winding down our 4th season. So I've been working, we've been doing that, and it's been going really good. I truly do enjoy doing it. And the podcast, as I've always mentioned, it's just 2 longtime friends having conversations on various topics. We just want y'all to feel like y'all are in, I'm going to use this term even though we're not in the booth. We're both in 2 separate cities actually, but like y'all are in the booth with us, like y'all are on the third microphone that we're talking, on. And, we want y'all to conversate with us. We want y'all to interact with us. And we just have a good time doing it. So always know that you can listen to all 3 podcasts on my website. Again, that's DannieBSpeaks.com. You can also check them out on my YouTube page, which is Dannie B Speaks. I've also re-uploaded all of my old podcasts on there, so you can check that out. I'll talk more about my YouTube page in a second, but you can also listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Audible, Spotify, and of course, my YouTube page. So let's talk about the YouTube page again. You can enjoy nostalgic videos, reviews, music mashups that I'm working on, and other original content. That stuff will be coming very soon. I promise. I'm trying to get my camera stuff together. I'm trying to get the lighting together because my office is kind of dark, so I'm trying to work all that out before I actually start recording videos and doing all that stuff because I have so many that I want to do, but that is coming. And you can subscribe to my YouTube page at Dannie B Speaks, just like everything else. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Dannie B Speaks. If you have Apple Music and want to listen to some good playlists, follow me on Apple Music where I share some of the playlists that I actually create myself. I am Tahir Ali on Apple Music. If you need to reach out to me for any business inquiries such as promoting your business, products, etc. on my podcast, on my website, or my other social media platforms, if you want to discuss collaborating with me, being a guest on the show, or even sponsoring me, please hit me up at DannieBSpeaks@gmail.com. As always, I appreciate you all. Be sure to continue to support or start supporting the Dannie B Speaks brand. It would be so greatly appreciated. Just a follow, a share, word of mouth, it could truly go a long way. It really can. So I would appreciate that. So until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Be safe out there, and I will catch you all on the next one. Peace, y'all.